a very, very warm welcome to this, which is the first of a series of sector events. So today we're looking at retail, and we're delighted to be joined by M&S and Tesco and John Lewis, which includes Waitrose, which also happen to seem to be, among my favourite shops to shop in. So the format of the day is that we'll be starting with a general discussion with our guests around the retail sector and opportunities within it. And then there'll be an opportunity for you as candidates to meet with each employer in breakout rooms and ask any questions that you might have. So hopefully you'll have noticed that we have BSL and captioning available. This is something we make available at all of our events for any candidates who might need that support. If you're using either of those services, if you could let us know, either let Toby or Rachel know in the chat, so that we can put you in the same room as our BSL interpreter and our captioner for the breakout rooms, that would be great. So the captions will work as normal in this main room meeting area, but when we move to breakout rooms, you'll need to access them using stream text, and we'll put that link up in the chat nearer that time. If you've got any problems at all concerning the tech or access or moving around or whatever it might be, if you go into the chat and privately message Toby or Rachel, they are at your disposal and will help you with any tech issues that you might have at all. So we're very excited about this event. As I say, it's the first one of its kind, and we know that the retail sector is a very popular sector for lots of people, but there's a lot I don't know about it, and there's a lot I'd like to learn about it from a recruitment and career perspective. So a very warm welcome to our guests who are going to be chatting to us today. And I'd like to introduce you individually, if that's all right. And first of all, from Tesco, we've got Linda and Russell. So Linda, would you like to just introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Really pleased to be here. My name is Linda Jackson, and I'm the Graduate and Apprenticeship Recruitment Manager here at Tesco.
Lovely, thank you. And Russell?
Thanks, Jane. Yeah, equally pleased to be here. My name's Russell Price, and I work in business planning at head office for Tesco.
Lovely, thank you. And M&S, where I love to buy some of my clothes from, Lorna.
Hi everyone, really excited to talk to you today. I'm a product manager working in our digital and data teams in our support office at M&S.
Lovely, thank you. And Debbie?
Afternoon everyone, I'm really privileged to be here today. I am a customer advisor who has worked for M&S for 25 years, and I'm also what they call a big rep who represents the colleagues at M&S.
Fantastic, thank you. And then John Lewis, where I like to get the rest of my clothes from. So Nicole.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Nicole Rushton, and I am a supplier communication and engagement lead at Waitrose head office, and I am also multiply disabled.
Thank you, Nicole. And also, I think you got your job there through Evenbreak.
I did, in fact. I absolutely did.
We'll come back to that later. Thank you. And Carl?
Hi everybody, my name's Carl Patterson. I am the Diversity and Inclusion Manager for the partnership. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and can't wait to get started.
Thank you. And last but not least, Phil.
Hi, I'm Phil from John Lewis, and I am an operations partner and our Ability Network co-leader.
Fantastic, thank you so much. So we've got a lot of people here that we can learn from and, hopefully get lots of great information. So I think I'd like to start by asking you, looking at the retail sector from the outside, I don't really know much about it. If I was looking for work, why do you think people might want to work in the retail sector? Why is it a great sector to work in? And I'll just open that out to anyone who'd like to answer.
I think the retail sector is really good because there's so many different roles and experiences that you can acquire within there, from not just selling but into support roles, buying roles. There's such a variety of opportunities, and it's open to everyone. There isn't any restrictions within that, you can develop yourself within your roles as well. So I think it's a really good broad way of working your way through different elements of retail.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because we tend to think about retail as the people we see in shops, but there's so much that goes on behind that. So that's kind of exciting, really. What kind of roles and opportunities are there available in the retail sector? Clearly, there are shop floor roles, as in assistants and people who are filling the shelves and all of that. But there must be an awful lot that goes on behind the scenes. What kind of roles might people think about within the retail sector?
Well, you're going to have roles within customer deliveries, because that sits within our retail sector, customer contact, so dealing with customers' online orders, queries. Online's a massive element, but it's still part of our high street retail operation as well. They're still both really, really important factors. So I think you'll find there's just so many different things to do with stock accuracy, product sourcing, so the ability to bring new products in. There's lots of opportunities within the different retail operations to really get engaged with other companies as well as retail.
I can add on to that just a smidge, Jane. One other thing to add is most people think that retail is all about the customer and the retail company, but I've learned more recently, having started in customer care, that customer service side of things, my whole job now is directly liaising between the company and the suppliers. And people on the outside who don't think about retail don't think about all of the jobs that are related to getting those products in the store, but also figuring out which products are they going to be, how are they going to be laid out, what are they going to look like, what's the packaging going to look like, all of the new legislation for high fat, sugar and salt, there's compliance, there's government, there's just a whole world that people don't even think about. And most of us work from home, behind the scenes. Nobody knows about us.
I mean, that's great, isn't it? We think of retail as a sector where you have to be on site in order to do your job. But actually, as you say, all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes can be done, really very flexibly. Yeah, so thanks for that. What about Tesco and M&S? What kind of jobs do you have, that are behind the scenes that we might not think about?
Yeah, so I can go. So, I mean, I think it depends if you're a creative thinker, if you're an analytical thinker. I think what's really important is within retail, there is something for everyone. So, yes, we've got our stores, we've got our distribution centres, but in the background, so we've got sort of marketing, finance, procurement, buying, compliance, recruitment, D&I. I mean, the list is endless. And I think it's safe to say retail has something for everyone. And if you are somebody that thrives on a challenge, retail is probably one of the fastest paced environments currently that there is out there, especially sort of given COVID-19. And I think, for most of us on this call, how quickly the retail sector had to adapt to what was happening in COVID and how we all had to work in the background. Actually, we all had really important parts to play during COVID that nobody ever saw.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, retail is a sector that's never going anywhere, is it? There might have been a crisis in the high streets, but we all buy things. We all have to buy food, clothes, household goods, furniture, whatever it might be. We're always going to have people who need to buy things. So retail in some shape or form is always going to be there. It's quite a secure sector, isn't it, from that perspective? Yeah, no, thanks for that. And what about progression? So, often our candidates will go into particular roles and then they might want to, progress their careers within that industry or within that sector. Are there opportunities within your brands, for example, for someone to maybe join at a relatively entry-level job or maybe at a graduate role and then progress, with their career within the company? Are there opportunities for career progression?
Yeah, I mean, I started at M&S as an IT graduate and I've moved around quite a bit. So I've done roles that have been more focused on a kind of business area. But I mean, I've worked on everything from getting Christmas turkeys ready to international to what I'm doing today, which is looking at imagery and how we get imagery on the website. And a lot of the people I work with actually have come from stores, and they've transferred over into our support centres, and they've made careers doing other stuff. So there's so much opportunity.
I think that's one of the good things, isn't it? Because it's so broad, because there are so many different roles, you could almost kind of join the sector, see what's going on around you, and then see which direction you might like to go in. So, and what about going into other sectors? I mean, presumably you can learn skills within retail, the sector, which will then equip you to go into other sectors should you choose to later on in your career.
I can kind of take that a smidge, kind of in both directions of reverse. I started in John Lewis Financial Services many years ago. My disability came about and put a stop to my career, and I fell apart. I thought, where am I going to take all these transferable skills, or at least what I thought were transferable skills? And retail was a home for me to be able to put all that plethora of skills. And so it doesn't matter whether you're starting small in the beginning of your career, or you're starting later in life and you're taking all these crazy skills you've amassed and you're trying to find a home for them. There is a place in retail. And I've recently, as a hiring manager, I've literally gone through the talent and progression process of some of my employees. And most companies have got their own internal processes to help put you on training, get you additional skills. Sometimes they'll partially pay for it. You can go then become a project manager. Maybe you'll leave the company, maybe you'll stay in the company. Maybe you'll go and get a CIPD, which is a type of HR qualification. Maybe you'll go to university. Most companies in retail are very big on the talent and progression, and they oftentimes have schemes within the company that can help give you a foot in the door to grow your career and your learning, and they're not afraid that you're going to leave. I mean, they embrace it.
So it's not just a good sector to get into. It means that once you're in that sector, you can grow, develop, progress your career. And not everybody wants to, but you have that opportunity should you want to. That sounds absolutely fantastic. So in terms of our candidates, obviously on this call, we'll be looking at the retail sector in terms of employing disabled people specifically. And I know that, for example, Nicole, you're a disabled person working in John Lewis. Could you talk a little bit about the kind of adjustments that you are offered, or that John Lewis generally offers to candidates around any adjustments that they might need?
I think the most important thing for everyone to know, and especially if you're a disabled candidate, you probably found this out by trial and error, is that whatever your condition is, your employer, whoever you choose, is not going to come to you and just hand you accommodations that they think are right for you. They might suggest one or two that worked for another employee, but we all get kind of offended by that, don't we? When we say, well, just because they needed this, I'm not them. How do you look at me as an individual? So you need to be empowered to know what you need. And there's plenty of places you can look around and then be willing to ask. And I have never come across a good employer who says no. They will then go away, consult whoever they need. In my case, I need 3 screens. I need my neck to be at a particular angle, so my screens are much higher than the average person. I need a dedicated desk. I have a blue badge space specifically painted outside of the building that I worked for. When I first started, there wasn't one close enough to that building, so they painted one. No big deal. Now I'm in a different building, and there happens to be one there already for me. Nobody second guesses me that I need to use the lift, even though I'm maybe going to the 2nd floor. I've got more space. I've got extended breaks if I need them. I have got a dedicated workstation at home. I was a key worker all during COVID with an electronic desk that rises up and lowers to whatever level I need it. Some of these things I already had in place before COVID, and they'd been worked out, but in my case, in Waitrose, it was amazing. They were all worked out and set up before I ever even stepped foot through the door, because I was open and honest and said, after I was hired, I have a few things going on. I'm going to need a few things. I also was able to negotiate a flexible working pattern. So I was never put in a position where I had to work more hours in a day than my body could cope for. I had so much of it's all about just flexibility. It's almost, don't think like there's rules. You have to be the empowered person who says, I know my condition. I know what I need in order to bring me to the level playing field of everybody else who doesn't know me, and I know what to ask for, and just trust that they're not going to say no, because I can guarantee you if they say no, it's not an employer you want to work for.
Absolutely. And, you know, at Evenbreak, we love working with organisations who very much have that open view to, rather than making assumptions about what people might need, actually asking each individual. How about some of the other brands? Any examples of disabled people who work within your organisations, or any adjustments that you might have made to support disabled colleagues?
I think you gave a really good summary, but at Tesco it's exactly the same thing. You've got to empower yourself to know your condition and make the request. We've had examples of a dyslexic store manager recently promoted to store director, and he's got an assistant to work with him to help with the day-to-day administration, and that comes with that role. There are technological solutions to help with partnering in Microsoft to help people with hearing disabilities and areas like that. But it's knowing your condition and calling it out. And when you ask for it, as a good company, as the other companies are, you tend to get it. There's lots of examples. When we talk about disability, there are so many different types and different examples. There's no one size fits all. And you've got to be agile and flexible to help with that. Lots of examples.
Lovely, thank you. Yeah, so if candidates now on this call are listening to this and thinking, actually, this is a sector I'd quite like to put my foot in and have a go at, what kind of adjustments are available, for example, within the recruitment process specifically, so that people can apply in ways that might suit them?
I know our recruitment person isn't quite here, but having been through the recruitment process and needing a little bit of accommodation, as well as now being in a position as a hiring manager, I know that in our case, you can ask for more time. You can ask for questions that are posed to you in an interview to be pasted into the chat as well, so you can see them and have them read out loud to you. You can ask for more time. You can ask for a morning appointment versus an afternoon appointment. Maybe your condition fluctuates during the day. I know that you can ask for, if there's not already set up, captions on e-learning pieces. Like I said, the world is your oyster. Whatever you need, we know our conditions. We really, really do. I see so many of your faces kind of going, yeah, I know. We know our conditions. If you know what you would struggle with, just ask.
And I think, you know, my perception always is that I know that candidates are often reluctant to talk about their access needs or any condition that they might have. But I think it's definitely, and we would often say, well, you know, only talk about your disability when it suits you. But I think in the case of the brands who are here today and the other organisations who advertise on Evenbreak, you know, these are organisations who are actively looking to appoint more disabled people. So having access needs, making requests is not going to put them off you. If anything, it might be the reverse, because actually these are organisations who are looking for a diverse range of talent. So, you know, please don't be frightened to ask. My final point really is about, I know since the pandemic, and you touched on this, Nicole, about different ways of working. I think there was, you know, definitely before the pandemic, there was a definite, you have to work full time, you have to work on site, you have to work 40 hours a week, whatever it might be. And I think the world has changed now. And lots of our candidates, alongside non-disabled candidates also, are looking for flexibility, not just in terms of the recruitment process, but in terms of working styles. So, you know, do you have opportunities for part-time working or flexible working or hybrid working or remote working? You know, can candidates ask for those kinds of flexible working arrangements as standard, really, along with other candidates? I just wondered, is there anyone from M&S who'd like to answer that one?
Yeah, I can touch on that. So I was working flexibly pre-COVID anyway. I was doing 2 days at home, but since COVID, I'm now doing, well, I would do 1 day in the office every now and again, I think would be the best way to say it. But yeah, no, M&S have been really flexible. I have like certain times that it's so I have ME, so I get tired, so there's certain times where it's better for me to have meetings, so I've got sort of soft rules around when I'll do meetings. But yeah, COVID definitely has helped, I think, because everybody else has experienced what it's like to work from home. Certainly, like when you're having meetings and stuff, people actually now know how to include you, whereas before people would forget that you're working from home. Now everyone's in the same boat, so it's become a lot more inclusive.
Yeah, no, that's really good to know, isn't it? Because I know that people are looking for, flexible working is the number one adjustment that many of our candidates will ask for. Tesco, how about you? What do you offer in terms of flexible working and different ways of working?
So we do offer flexibility. Like M&S, COVID forced some learnings actually, and we got a lot of experience and benefit from doing that. And we saw a shift to more working from home, and it proved some things could work. I think it's a bit more difficult in store, but when you're in head office, because in store you've got to serve customers at the right point of time. But in head office, there is flexibility. So I stepped down to a 4-day week because of my condition, which is Parkinson's. So when I started at Tesco, I didn't have a disability. I've now got one, and Tesco has adapted with that. So that's a good story and really helped me progress. And I've gone down to a 4-day week. I've got workplace adjustments and things that have helped me. Again, it's on a case-by-case example, but there's much more flexibility. So there's some policy and rules around it as you support customers, but a lot more agility than we've seen in the past. And I think that's across the good companies in the industry.
Yeah, and I'd second that, Russell. So working in the wider recruitment team, we've certainly seen an increase since COVID with regards to that request for flexible working. And what's really lovely is, as Russell has mentioned, it's almost pushed the issue or pushed it up the agenda slightly. And a lot of people, and hiring managers specifically, are now a lot more open. Whereas before it was potentially, I'm not sure if we can do that. Actually, that's now available to you. What works for you? And as we mentioned before, anybody coming through with a disability, is you feeling empowered to tell us what you want, and those adjustments and working patterns will then be taken into consideration and granted. So yeah, definitely seen an increase in it, which is fantastic.
That's great. What I've loved about our session so far today is the fact that we're talking about retail sector jobs, and the people on the panel that we're talking to have a very diverse range of roles, and yet many of you have lived experience of disability. So for me, that's a real demonstration that retail is really a sector where you can thrive. You can be disabled, you can do whatever kind of job your skills point you towards, and you can thrive, with the right support and the right organisation. So I'm feeling quite positive about all of that. I've seen there've been lots of questions in the chat, which we don't really have time to address individually here. But what we're going to do now is go into breakout rooms. So as candidates, you will be assigned a room and you'll stay in that room, and then the employers will visit each of those rooms in turn. So you'll have an opportunity to engage with each of the brands that we've got online today, Tesco and M&S and John Lewis, including Waitrose.